Do you think parasites are connected with a lot of the diseases we have today?
No.
I think it exists. I don't think it's a big problem.
Are you interested in knowing what parasites do to you?
Probably, I mean, yeah.
Probably not for me. I'll be honest, it doesn't really interest me. There's tons of people that have parasites and don't even know it.
It's a big, very big issue. At the beginning, I didn't believe that I had parasites.
People need to cleanse more often.
I did. I had parasites.
I was really shocked when I found out that this is something that affects every single living human, in fact every single living organism on the face of the earth. You could be leading a healthy lifestyle, you could be jogging, eating raw food, taking vitamins and all those kind of things, but these guys don't care. These guys are persistent, they're dangerous, they're deadly, they've been around for millions of years, they know what they're doing, and they're inside of all of us, and we're constantly being exposed to this.
There's definitely a problem with it.
There's a war going on, it's going on inside every one of us, and this is something that we all need to take very seriously.
This is not science fiction. This is scary, it's real, and it's serious. Monsters living inside us that eat our bodies and control our emotions, urges, and thoughts. A Discover magazine feature article said that every living thing has at least one parasite that lives inside of it, and humans have far more. This silent issue is so important, former President Jimmy Carter is putting intensive efforts into increasing global awareness of this serious issue.
As a colon hydrotherapist for approximately 21 years now, you wouldn't believe what I see coming out of people's bodies.
This is not just a third world country thing. Everybody has them. Even normal people with lots of money living in suburbia who take showers 3 times a day. If you eat sushi, you have parasites. 1 square inch of raw sushi meat can contain 10,000 parasite larvae and eggs that begin hatching inside you the minute you eat it. The most common kind is tapeworms, which can grow to 60 feet long and live in your intestines for decades.
When I have clients that absolutely love sushi, I find that they have an inordinate amount of that particular problem of like clusters of parasites.
If you have pets, you are guaranteed to have parasites. It doesn't matter if you're vegetarian, raw foodist, vegan, or macrobiotic. Even the healthiest and richest people on earth have parasites. You can't kill them all, only control them, because our bodies have trillions of cells which rely on helpful bacteria like probiotics to work right. We kill all the organisms in our body, we kill ourselves. The secret is to keep the bad guys to a minimum. Make our bodies so healthy and clean, the undesirable guests won't want to stick around. Don't feed them the junk food they love. Sweet stuff, bread, alcohol, rice, pasta, milk, cookies, crackers, cereal, meat, cheese, cooked foods, refined carbohydrates, soft drinks, commercial fruit juices, junk foods. They love the food you love and hate the food you hate. Even letting yourself become run down energetically allows them to get stronger. So who's winning, you or them? There are hundreds of thousands of types of parasites, ranging from huge worms to the single-celled amoebas that can cross the blood-brain barrier and begin digesting your brain and other organs like your liver, heart, and kidneys. They are silent. They move very slowly so you don't feel them or know they're there. That's how they want it. If you don't know they're there, then you won't do anything about it. They are smart. Parasites are living alien creatures who live off of others. They eat your food, they poop their waste inside you, making your blood, lymph, and tissues toxic. We are living in their sewage. Did you know 1/3 of your poop isn't even yours? It's waste that's been pooped out by parasites. You think you're clean? Think again. Everyone has parasites. They're everywhere. It's almost impossible not to come in contact with them. They are in the air. You can breathe them in. A single handshake can transfer over 500,000 organisms. Anything other people touch, shopping carts, door handles, toilet seats, doorknobs, signature pens, daycare centers, diaper changes, and pets, which pick up tiny unseen organisms from the ground they walk on, carpeting, grass, dirt, lawns, especially grass and lawns that have been used for defecating. Animals lick their butt and then lick their fur, and then you pet that fur, absorbing parasites directly into your skin, while others wait for you to put your hand near your face, where they enter through the nose, mouth, and eyes. They eat your food and use your body as a breeding ground, sucking you dry of nutrition, energy, and life force. Some worms can lay millions of eggs a day. If you break apart a tapeworm, the broken part can regrow into another worm. Common signs of parasites are you're tired a lot, sleeping problems, constant itching, weakness, headaches, lack of appetite, or hungry all the time, especially for sweet foods and carbs, flu-like symptoms, depression, skin problems, acne, arthritis, joint pains, eczema, dermatitis, sinus problems, breathing and lung problems like pneumonia, then uncontrollable coughing, lumps under the skin, cysts, diarrhea and constipation, sometimes alternating back and forth, mucus in your stool, irritable bowel syndrome, stomach aches, cramps, digestion problems, nausea, overly dry lips, vision and eye problems, gas, bloating. Parasites can burrow into your brain and cause nerve damage and eye problems. They can multiply so much in your gut what you think is fat may in fact be entire nests of parasites. They can clog up your digestive tract so much no food can get through, making you constipated. They love to live in your stomach and intestines because that's where all the food goes, and you feed them every day. As a matter of fact, it's said that almost every health condition known can be connected with parasites in some way.
I've seen actual tapeworms come out of a person. It looked like flat, long spaghetti strands. 2 of them.
A 40-foot tapeworm can have 3,000 to 4,000 segments, each one of which can grow into its own piece. It can lay over 1 million eggs a day. If you are skinny and have trouble gaining weight, or have ever had a dog lick your face, if you have abdominal cramping or appendix pains, or liver, gallbladder, pancreas issues, or lung problems, you might very well be host to 1 or more huge tapeworms. Pinworms. If you have sleeping problems, itchy butt, joint pain, or female problems, those are common pinworm symptoms. Whipworms are a type of roundworm that secretes a digestive fluid that liquefies your colon wall so they can eat it. Over 1 billion people have whipworms. Roundworms look like fat spaghetti and are one of the most common human infections. One roundworm can lay 2 million eggs per day, and they can live for years. They hatch in your colon, then penetrate the intestinal wall, enter the bloodstream and lymph system, and then make their way to the liver, heart, and eventually the lungs, where they grow to 2 inches long, pass through the air sacs into the throat, causing uncontrollable coughing, where they are swallowed so they can go back down in the intestines, where they lay more eggs and start the whole thing all over again. Roundworms cause pneumonia-like symptoms, breathing problems, chest tightness, asthma, heart problems, fluid retention, mucus in the lungs, nagging cough, digestive problems, stomach pains, cramping, nausea, bloating, malnutrition, protruding stomach, and intestinal blockages. Sushi is one of the major sources of tapeworms, which can grow to over 50 feet long in your intestines. Walking barefoot is a good way to pick them up, not just in dirt and grass or in the house of pets, but also the beach. Hookworms. Remember the movie Alien? Hookworms have 4 sets of teeth so they can eat your intestinal walls and suck your blood. Parasites can penetrate the placenta in a pregnant woman and enter the baby. They can even be passed through breast milk. Parasites can even contribute to infertility and childbirth difficulties. If a child is born, it can have retarded mental and physical abilities. People with parasites are never living life to its fullest capacity because they are sucked dry of energy, minerals, and nutrition. They are tired all the time, depressed, and barely alive. All their life force goes to the parasites.
We're all subject to this, like it or not. It's a fact.
Tests done at funeral homes show that 97% of the body fluids in people were totally consumed with parasites and worms. Scientists are just beginning to discover exactly how powerful and disturbing these hidden monsters can be. Our cells are controlled by chemical signals. Parasites emit a chemical that directly affects our behavior, thoughts, decisions, and urges. Think about that. Something inside us that's not us, causing us to make unsafe decisions, so we eat, drink, and do things that benefit the parasite, including physical contact with other people so the parasite can spread. Why do we eat foods and do things we know are bad for us? Why is this so hard to resist? They look like snakes.
What's really creepy is the thought there's a serpent within each of us, tempting us to do things we really should. Being in a loving monogamous relationship is paradise, and feeding the serpent exiles you from paradise.
What you eat, who and what you touch, your health, your moods, your relationships, everything. What can you do about it? Start by doing the right thing. Don't give in to temptation. Clean your environment and your body. Stop eating foods that feed parasites.
We live in a toxic world, but we don't have to live in toxic bodies.
Instead of calling it hydrofluorosilicic acid, which the liars can't pronounce, they call it fluoride. It's good for the kiddies. So there's a name change. So by changing the name, did you make the devil Beelzebub? It's still bad.
The toxic metals we will address in this presentation are mercury, lead, aluminum, nickel, arsenic, cadmium, uranium, and calcium. Calcium. Under certain conditions, calcium, a mineral required for our health, can become a toxic metal. First, let's look at how we are exposed to the other 7 toxic metals we just listed, and what kinds of problems they can cause. The first toxic metal we will look at is mercury. Mercury is one of the most deadly substances known to man. It accumulates in the brain, nervous system, heart, kidneys, and endocrine glands, and can cause depression, autoimmune disorders, memory loss, tremors, anemia, and heart attack. Studies done by the University of Calgary have shown that when mercury comes into contact with nerve tissue, it can actually melt the myelin sheath right off the nerve, causing the nerve to shrivel in a matter of seconds. What is even more unbelievable is that this highly toxic metal is actually put right into our mouths in the form of dental fillings. If you have silver fillings in your mouth, you may be interested to know that these silver fillings actually contain as much as 50% mercury by weight. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, there's enough mercury in one silver filling to force the closing of a 10-acre lake. Those few dentists who chose to use mercury in dental fillings were called quacks. This derogatory term was an abbreviation of the word Quacksilber, which was German for quicksilver, the common name for mercury at the time. Over time, however, using mercury in fillings became the norm, not the exception. And those dentists today who choose to remove mercury from their patients' mouths are themselves called quacks. Scientific tests show that each mercury filling in our mouth releases on average 17 micrograms of mercury into the body every day. Mercury is also found in adhesives, air conditioner filters, cosmetics, fabric softeners, felt, floor waxes and polishes, laxatives, seafood, talcum powder, and tattoos.
When I told my MD that I wanted to try to have a baby, he suggested that I find out what my level of mercury was because he knew that I ate a lot of fish. So he tested my level for mercury and it was really high.
And I went and I got a hair analysis. And the analysis revealed that I had a huge burden of mercury. It was actually off the chart.
Mercury is a poison. It has been found to cause memory problems, hair loss, fatigue, joint pain, tremors, impaired coordination, and other neurological damage. Mercury exposure in the womb can cause irreversible damage to a developing baby. Seafood is the primary source of methylmercury ingested by humans. Fish are contaminated because rivers, lakes, and oceans are contaminated.
I went back to my doctor and found out my level of mercury was really high. I was eating a lot of sushi. I've eaten sushi for years. I love it. And so I was eating a lot of tuna and yellowtail, and for dinner, everything, you know, mahi-mahi, shrimp. And one of the issues with mercury toxicity, and one of the reasons that it's dangerous for pregnant women to have a lot of mercury in their system, is because it affects the neurology and the development of the fetus.
So if I was speaking to a parent who is considering vaccinating their child, who is on the fence and getting ready to make that important decision, absolutely take your time. Take your time. A lot of times, you know, your pediatrician will be rushing you and they want to keep every child on that birth and then 2-month and then 4-month and then 6-month schedule. But the number one thing is that never ever would your child ever come into contact with all of those infectious diseases on one given day. Ultimately, you have to make a decision that you're going to be comfortable with, a decision that you can live with, and whatever decision that we make as parents, we end up dealing with the consequences of, good or bad. I would never want a parent to join the tens of thousands of parents who now are dealing with a child who's suffering with severe autism, that would give everything that they have to go back and to make a different decision, or who would gladly go back and have their child suffer with measles or the mumps or one of these infectious illnesses or the chicken pox.
As you all know, recently the CDC just recently stated that autism is up 78% in the past decade. Figures-wise, what does that mean? Well, 1 in every 88 children in the United States are on the autistic spectrum.
Lead is found in chocolate, canned foods, newspapers, toothpaste, cosmetics, plastics, batteries, gasoline, old paint, insecticides, pottery, ceramics, and worst of all, soldered pipes. This means that every glass of water we drink and every shower or bath we take increases our lead exposure. Lead accumulates in the brain, liver, bones, kidneys, and spleen, where it has many negative effects, but none more insidious than its ability to alter behavior and intelligence. Let's turn the toxic metal discussion to aluminum. Public water utilities universally use aluminum to remove debris suspended in the water supply. This process is called flocculation. Unfortunately, this process continues in our own bloodstream. You see, our bloodstream also has little things floating around in it, like red and white blood cells, antibodies, hormones, and platelets, to name a few. But when our bloodstream flocculates, it can cause serious problems, such as strokes and heart attacks, for example. Another common source of aluminum is antiperspirants. When aluminum is applied to the sweat glands under the arms, it literally glues them closed, preventing toxins from naturally leaving the body in your sweat. In women, once under the arms, the aluminum goes through the lymph nodes right to the breasts. It is likely that the high rate of breast cancers and other breast disorders we are seeing is, to some degree, a result of women unwittingly poisoning their own breasts on a daily basis. Other sources of aluminum include baking powder, feminine hygiene products, toothpaste, baby formula, antacids, and, of course, aluminum foil and pots and pans. Aside from its effects in the breasts, aluminum also accumulates in the skin, bones, brain, and kidneys, and can cause Alzheimer's disease, memory problems, dementia, aphasia, ataxia, convulsions, and anemia. It may be hard to fathom, but the average person will eat and drink over 3 pounds of aluminum in his or her lifetime. Nickel. Nickel is found in stainless steel cutlery, pots and pans, coins, dental fillings, and batteries. It accumulates in the bones, kidneys, liver, lungs, immune system, sinuses, and the brain, where it causes genetic disease and cancer. One of the most common problems associated with nickel exposure is skin conditions. Many people with chronic skin conditions are actually experiencing chronic nickel toxicity, and no amount of skin creams or lotions will ever work until this offending toxic metal is removed.
It would appear that fluoride increases the uptake of lead into the blood, or in particular, one of the chemicals that we use, the most frequently used chemical to fluoridate is not sodium fluoride, but hexafluorosilicic acid, silicon fluorides. And these silicon fluorides seem to form a complex with lead. Anyway, when you're using silicon fluorides, the epidemiology, using the silicon fluorides for fluoridating, there's a higher increase in lead levels in the blood. It seems to increase the uptake of lead from any source, environmental source, lead paint or whatever, increases the uptake from the gut into the bloodstream. That's very serious indeed. Now, that was 2 large epidemiological studies. Recently, there was an animal study that tested this on rats. They fed the rats lead acetate, and they got 1 level in the blood. And then they gave the other rats, lead acetate and hexafluorosilicic acid, and lo and behold, like a 6-fold increase in the amount of lead in the blood and dentine and so on. You know, in addition to all of that, fluoride has, as I said, the ability to form these complexes, and the concern is it will suck metals out of various combinations. Like, could it help to suck the mercury out of mercury amalgams in the mouth if you're drinking fluoridated water, or you're swishing fluoride, or you're using fluoridated toothpaste? Maybe that helps to erode the mercury from the amalgam. Lead pipes, maybe fluoride helps to get lead out of the pipes, or even the brass fittings. There's been a study which shows that fluoride in combination with chloramine and other chlorinating agents seems to facilitate the solution of lead from pipe joints. And also we know that if you boil water in an aluminium saucepan, if you're using fluoridated water, more aluminum goes into solution. So, there's all these worrying ways that fluoride can make the situation worse with metals which already are a question mark.
Chelation is something that is thrown around. There are some studies now showing it's got benefits for heart problems. It does have a lot of other benefits as far as getting heavy metals out. I'm talking about mercury and lead and arsenic and aluminum. They trigger the immune system. They affect nervous systems. They affect hormones. They affect tissues. They don't belong there. The body does have its own processes to get rid of these metals. You have a detoxification process, and you can excrete heavy metals. If the body can't do it, then we need a way to get the metals out. And that way is called chelation. I can send an empty protein into the body, in a sense, and I can use proteins that I know prefer to attach to the metals. So I send this empty protein into your body. Sometimes we do it intravenously with an IV. Sometimes we do it with a pill. Sometimes we rub it on your skin. But we get this protein absorbed by your body or into your body, and it runs around and attaches to metal where it finds it. We do have some mineral loss when we use chelation, so we have to make sure that the mineral balance of the body is adequate as well, and we have to replenish minerals after doing chelation. And that's all chelation really is. It's just a matter of going in and removing metals. The cleaner your body is, the better it functions. And that especially applies to the heavy metals. And probably more appropriately than anything to mercury, lead, and aluminum, although there are other metals as well that can interfere. But those three metals cause a lot of the problems that we look at. Many researchers believe that MS is a result of mercury. The mercury can severely affect the function of the thyroid gland. So many times as we take mercury out, people that were hypothyroid start not needing any more hormone because their thyroid comes back to functioning well. The metals can interfere. If we get them out, the interference is gone and the body begins to function better. Now, a lot of chelation is done to help with circulation, with cardiovascular disease. Often a heart attack or a stroke or other problems occur because, not necessarily because there's a blockage, but because just like if you squeeze down on a hose, the spasm of the blood vessel causes a short duration stop in the blood flow. Is that as we pull the metal out, there's less inflammation. Now we know that the biggest cause of cardiovascular disease is inflammation. If I can reduce inflammation, that whole procedure or scenario won't happen as quickly or as severely. But chelation does improve heart disease. It does improve the disease in the blood vessels. It does reduce the incidence of stroke. And it's because of all these factors that I'm talking about. We're just trying to introduce that protein into the body so that it can round up the metals and carry them out.